Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 121 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you got a health issue that just won't go away no matter what you try? Then welcome to the Revive Yourself podcast, where we reveal the secrets to long-lasting health by getting to the root cause of problems that no one else is talking about. So you can have more energy, clear skin, healthier hair, a leaner physique, more confidence, and most importantly, do the things you love and live the life you deserve. Here's your host, Ryan Martin.
So guys and girls, welcome back to the show, episode 121. And we're getting on now, aren't we? 121. Awesome. So I had some great feedback on last week's episode with Jane Bennett regarding the conversation we had all about the pill, which is brilliant. And we'll be getting her on again, talking about the menstrual revolution, which is great. So I'm glad that helped you out. And today we've got a fantastic episode. You know, it was a really fun episode with a really lovely person, Stevie Wright, which I'll get into in a bit. As always, guys, the episode is sponsored by www.reviveyourself.co, our website there where we've got our shop, sending you all the greatest supplements in the world. You know, one I recommend if you're looking for a broad spectrum supplement is the products from Living Fuel, the greens or the berry powder. It's the best product, all-round product on the market by none, in my opinion. I've also got our water filtration systems from Aquitaire. If you've got a 1, 2, 3 or 4 bedroom house, hard or soft water, they're going to be fantastic for you, taking out 99% of all nasties, chemicals, parasites, protozoa, etc. And we've got the Aries Tech electronic magnetic frequency blocking devices there. Also, if you're heading over to blueblocks.com, you can get 10% off their blue blocking glasses, the best in the business, in my opinion. If you put in the code REVIVE, 10% off there. And if you head on over to www.essentialoilwizardry.com, you can get 10% off the best essential oils in the world from Dr. Nick Berry, if you put the code in REVIVE in small letters there. But yeah, today's episode is with Stevie Wright from steviewright.co, and she is a self-love coach, former singer. Well, not a former singer, sorry, she still is a singer, but former professional singer, I should say. And yeah, it's a great conversation. We go deep into her issues around why she got into coaching. We go into why she was a health coach and she actually changed into a self-love coach, why that was. Different issues around why people have self-loathing and her story and her issues. And we actually get deep into a fantastic conversation where, you know, she actually talks about her, she becomes very vulnerable, which is something that she said she struggled with even recently. So, you know, it's one of my favourite conversations that I've had in a while, and she's awesome. I'll definitely be trying to get her back on the show. Yeah, absolutely fantastic conversation. So, without further ado, here's Stevie. Enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side. Yeah, anyway, it's good to finally get you on. How's things?
I know. We've been trying you've been trying to get me to do this forever. I'm so sorry that I've been all over the place. I'm finally here, and I'm really excited.
No, that's all right. No, it's good. I think I come across you a couple of years ago, and from one of a couple of the ladies that had me on their show, and they were like, "Oh, have you seen this lady called Stevie Wright?" And I was like, "I haven't come across." And I think I followed you on Instagram, and I was just followed you just into the health industry. It's just always good to meet or to see other people spreading the same sort of message and helping people out. So just thought it'd be good to get you on as well, because you know you in particular seem to deal with mainly women. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to get into that because, you know, I have a mixture of men, women on the show, and but it's good to, and actually, to be honest, I say most of my clients, I say 65% are women, because women in general will will ask for help long before a man will. So
Oh my gosh, totally.
yeah. So like, it's good to have you on. Just for everyone out there, Stevie, just a little bit about, just a little bit about your story, because I know you've moved into a different sort of line of coaching in the last 6 months, a year, but just a little bit about you and sort of like how you got into the industry would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started coaching about 3.5 years ago, and excuse my voice, I'm a little under the weather. But so I started coaching about 3.5 years ago, and I started in health coaching, and I was doing nutrition, and I was doing meal plans, and I was doing lifestyle and weight loss and things like that. And all my clients were women, and I enjoyed it. It was great. My clients were seeing results. However, what was happening, Ryan, was these women would come to me and we would start building up a really beautiful connection, and they would start really trusting me, and I would do these 6-month programs with them. And, by month 2, they were telling me some really, really deep emotional kind of wounding, I guess you could say. And, trauma and limiting beliefs and abandonment and all these different things that I, to be honest, did not know how to help them with, nor was I qualified. And so I kind of went through this aha moment about a year ago where I was like, wait a second, I don't want to help you lose weight anymore. Like, I don't want to help you get abs. And, I could give you all the kale salad recipes in the world, and that is not going to heal your heart. And that's not going to give you a sustainable transformation. And all of my girls were dealing with the same thing. They were struggling with anxiety. They were feeling unworthy. They were feeling like they weren't good enough and they didn't deserve success. They didn't deserve their dreams. And all of these kinds of underlying issues, it came up in the food, right? So that's why they were struggling with binging, or that's why they were struggling with their weight or with emotional eating and things like that. But the food was a symptom. It was not the problem. Food was absolutely not the problem. It was just the symptom. It was the byproduct of the underlying issues of not feeling good enough and the emotional trauma and things like this. And so I was like, wait a second, I really need to go deeper here. There's something more that I can help people with. I can be such a more effective coach if I go way deeper. And so I had to bite the bullet and swallow my ego, and I had to get a full-time job because I was like, I do not want to health coach anymore. So I had to get a full-time job. And I found a program that would certify me as more of a self-love coach, where I'm doing really deep healing work so that I can facilitate a really transformative experience for someone, not talking about food at all. And what's funny is that a lot of the women who come to me are looking to lose weight. They are looking to heal the relationship with food. They're looking to heal the relationship with their body and feel good in their skin. But, it's kind of like they're in for a real treat because we're going so much deeper into that, into the deeper layers as to, what do you believe to be true about yourself? What are the stories you've been perpetuating for 20, 30 years? How can we really heal that so that the food heals itself? So now I'm really doing self-love coaching, and most of the women who come to me are really struggling with anxiety. So that's kind of my specialty now.
No, it's really interesting because it's like on my programs as well. We don't the mental and emotional side of things is so huge, and we concentrate on that too. And just like a lot of people got so much going on in their mind. In this world today of like instant success or perceived instant success, perceived everyone looking as gorgeous, people not being enough. It's a really huge part to like quiet the mind and to ask people, is that actually true? You talk about self-love coach. Interested to know what course was it? Did you like follow the work of Byron Katie? Anything like that?
I do follow the work of Byron Katie. I've been wanting to go to one of her live events, but I don't know a ton about her.
All right, yeah. No, she's got like the work, which is basically it's about working on yourself and realizing like a lot of these issues, a lot of things that we turn ourselves like, is it true? Or is it like our ego just trying to defend us or make a situation out of stuff? And so when you said like a self-love coach and what you go into, it's really interesting. So like what was the course you did out of curiosity?
Yeah, it's called Hungry for Happiness. It's led by Samantha Scally. It's a 10-month, 400-hour intensive, and it is, oh man, there's nothing like it on the market, Ryan. It was completely life changing. It was so transformative and so healing for me. And my coach, Sam, I tell her this all the time because we still work together, but the healing that I got for myself, the healing that I got in my own heart, my own body image, my own, like how deep I went into my own self-love, like that, I would pay for that 10 times more. Like the cherry on top is that I get to coach people doing the same thing and I get to embody this work. But the coaching and the tools and the strategies that I learned aside, like I feel so confident in what I do and what I offer as a coach. But that aside, the healing that I got for myself is priceless. And I think that is what makes a really good coach, is someone who doesn't just put their coach hat on and then take their coach hat off at the end of the day, but really someone who embodies the work and does it on themselves first. Because I truly believe that I can only take someone as far as I've gone myself. And if I haven't gone that far and I haven't dug deep into my own layers, then how can I ask my clients to do that? So, and that is what the program asked of me. And so it was just a really, really transformative year.
Yeah, 100. I mean, 100%. You can only lead someone as far as you're going yourself. Otherwise, it just becomes a blind leading the blind, right? And you're just gambling and going up the hill. You're just like, unless you've gone through it. That's why everyone, everyone who are talking to, most of the people that are getting to, I say it quite a lot, are people who scratch their own itch, and this is why a lot of doctors and even psychiatrists and like people in that conventional world, a lot of them are talking heads. They haven't been through anything themselves, or they haven't worked on themselves. So it's quite hard. Like they're great at certain things, but when it comes to, like, for example, you can get a gastroenterologist, talking about gut issues. They never had one themselves. They don't know what it's like to live with one. And I think it's a really big issue. So saying you've done the work on yourself first, I think that speaks of like a lot of integrity. And I just want to go back then, because that's interesting. You said you've done a lot of work on yourself. So, like, growing up, what were the issues you had to come over yourself? Did you have a good childhood? Like, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a tiny little town in Southern California.
Right.
And, it's so funny. You think of California and you think of beaches and palm trees and all that kind of stuff. But I actually grew up in a tiny little desert town.
Mm-hmm. What's it called?
And it's called Phelan, Phelan. And it's about an hour 40 from LA. I'm in LA now, but that's where I grew up. And it was, I had a great childhood. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a professional singer.
I want to go into that as well. It's awesome. Yeah.
Sure. So I sing. I've been singing since I was a little girl, but I've been singing professionally for about 10 years. And I still do so on the side because I love it. And it's, one of my passions. Mm-hmm. But, there was a big message for me as a kid that and maybe not in so many words, but in actions for sure, or I guess just in like the energy, that my worth was tied up in my achievements. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to this, where your worth is how you receive. Let me go back for a second, because I think a lot of times my clients will come to me and we'll talk and we'll start going into a program, and they'll say, but I had a really great childhood, like nothing horrible happened, or nothing traumatic happened that I can remember or think of. That's great. This is not about looking for something that is not there. But what I do ask people is, how did you receive love from your parents? How did you receive praise from your parents? Because how you receive love and praise from your parents as a child or your caregivers, that's probably the way you're still looking to receive love as an adult. So for me, I received praise by performing. I was a singer. My parents were so proud of me, and they loved me singing. And so I was kind of put on display for family and friends and things like that. And performing was how I received love. And so as a little girl, I metabolized that as, if I make a scene, if I perform, if I'm over the top, then I'll get love and attention, and I'll get, a round of applause. And so as an adult, something that I really had to work out was knowing that, like, oh my goodness, one of the ways I really receive love is performing. Not just like actually performing on stage, which I still do, but putting on a facade of that, like, everything's okay, nothing's wrong, I can't show my real parts. Like the real me isn't lovable, that kind of thing. And so I had to undo that story and untangle that story and that wound, that I don't have to perform. I don't have to prove myself anymore. I don't have to prove myself and my worth in order to receive love. So that was one thing that I've kind of been working on for the past several years. Another is I just have a big unworthiness wound. I went through some abandonment as a child, and so really understanding that it had nothing to do with me. It's not personal, and my worth is innate. It's God-given. It was given to me the moment I was born, that I don't have to work for it, or that I don't have to worry about people leaving me. I don't have to manipulate and control so that I make sure that nobody leaves me. So, unworthiness, and going back to the achieving thing, also the achievement. And what I was saying about how I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to is you receive love through achievements, through like good grades, or through winning at sports, or through winning the awards. If winning is and achieving is your way that you receive love, then as an adult, you'll still hustle and you'll grind and you'll achieve to like win that love and to receive that love, which, as an adult, we don't need to do that anymore. We don't have to prove ourselves anymore. So that's something that I've been working on in my own life and that I work on with my clients as well.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, for me, I know, like, from my perspective, I've always had a great childhood, had brilliant things, but obviously, like, your parents, they've got they always say that no one can fuck you up like your parents, right? Or they can put certain things into you. But so my mum would generally, I mean, it's a weird one. She'd generally give me love, whatever. But obviously, there were certain things. She had certain cues as well. But with my dad, I always felt like if I wasn't performing at sport, then like his disappointment was like heartbreaking. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Even to the point, if you sit, so even today when I'm playing with like my mates also, and if we come in and we've won, and I tell him, he's like ecstatic, and if we've lost, he'll make a little comment, and I'm fucking 33 years old, and it still fucking winds me up something chronic, and I'm like, why? Like, it's like you're I'm only good enough for you when I win, sort of thing,
Right.
And I think that's a huge one, right? Like for a lot of people, whether it be grades or being pretty enough or whatever, male or female, I reckon that's something that definitely people can definitely get into. I mean, especially like, so you said you had some abandonment issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you mind going into them?
No, that's okay. Yeah. So, my biological father and my mom got a divorce when I was, 3. Yeah, 3. But it was very abrupt and it was very traumatic and very, let's see. It was just very, it was like one of those things where one day dad is
Do you
there.
remember it?
I do. Yeah. It's like
Nice.
one day dad is there and one day, and then the next day he's not. And so, and I didn't see him for many, many, many years. And which is actually crazy, 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 is I hadn't seen him since I was 5, and I just reconnected with him this year, about 3 months ago.
Really?
So yes, so it's been a really beautiful healing year. Not just for that. I mean, so many things have happened this year, but that was such a healing experience. And I think something that helped me in my journey of healing is to realize that my parents, like our parents, do the best they can with the tools that they have. And sometimes like they just don't have that many tools. And I do a lot of inner child work. I'm not sure if you've dug into that, but I do a lot of inner child work with my clients, and I do a lot of inner child work with myself, where I'm connecting to my own inner little girl who is still like that 3-year-old girl who's daddy just left and who is heartbroken and who the rug just got pulled out from under her. And I meet that little girl's needs. So when she's feeling scared, when she's feeling unsafe, when she's feeling like she's not getting attention, or when she's feeling like she's not getting love, I be my own mother, I be my own father, and I cultivate that internal feminine and masculine in myself, and I'm there for my inner child. I'm there for her, and that has been so healing on my journey to kind of come into personal development and that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, all that to say, yes, that that happened. And I got to really, really, I guess, meet him again for the second time. And it was beautiful. And I can see him and his inner child, and I can see my mom and her inner child, and it makes me have so much compassion for them and release like any anger or non-forgiveness that I was holding against them. It makes it so much easier to have compassion when you see like their own fears and their own wounding and how they brought that into parenthood. It makes it so much easier to have compassion.
There's a few things you said there that are really interesting. This is like one of the things is you said they didn't have the tools, and like we are at a sort of time now where there's more therapists and health coaches and nutritionists, etc., more than ever. Although we're fatter and sicker than ever, but like there's more people who actually understand more like self-development. I mean, not everyone does, but there's more of us that are into it, and so it's more available. And even like learning about yourself, it's something that probably wasn't really talked about back then as much.
No.
And so like that is so true. Like, and you think because you're looking at it from your point of view, why didn't my dad want me, for example? But like when you're in his shoes, and you're like, sometimes you wonder. I mean, all the research shows that children who have a mum and a dad who are together, obviously they just generalising here, not individually, because stats don't mean anything to the individual, but generalising, they like better in school, generally have better relationships, because humans are the great imitators. You can tell a child to eat healthy, but if you're sitting there eating McDonald's, he's going to do exactly the same. So like we generally see monkey see, monkey do, Whereas with that, it's quite a powerful thing. And so when you so how old are you now, Stevie?
I'm 27.
27. So 24 years of not seeing him. You said no. 3. So 24 years of not seeing him. Well, 23. Was there who got in touch with who? Was there any resentment there? Like, or did you come from a complete place of just wanting to find out what happened? I mean, just interested.
Yeah, it was. Oh, man, it was so beautiful, Ryan. It was. I had done so much healing work up until this point, and it was so divinely timed, and it was so out of the blue. And what happened was basically I was going to Sedona for a women's retreat that I was attending, and I was so excited about it. And I knew that, like, I had heard from family members that my father and his wife lived in Arizona. And so I had thought about reaching out to him for years, and I never had the balls to do it. So here I am going to Sedona in a week, and I literally just found myself, and his wife had reached out to me a couple of times over the years on Facebook.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So I just found myself, it was like God was just leading my fingers, because I found myself on Facebook, and the next thing I know, I'm typing a message to her, and I said, I'm going to be in Sedona next week. Is there any chance that you guys would want to meet up?
That's awesome.
And I sent it, and I was like, oh shit, what have I done? And then 5 minutes later, she's like, yes. Oh my God, we cannot believe we've been waiting for this. Yes, yes, yes. And so I had done so much healing in the past several years coming up into this point, and I think my body just knew that it was time. Like I believe that our bodies hold the wisdom, and my body knew that it was time. And I saw him, and it was so beautiful and so many tears, and it was like we had never missed a beat. It was absolutely insane. And there was no resentment, no anger. I told him, we went out to dinner, and it was a very, like, I'm sure the waiter was like, what the hell is happening here? But, cause we were just crying the whole time. But, I told him that I don't have any anger towards you. I don't have any resentment towards you. I don't need to know anything about why you did. And he ended up telling me a little bit about what had happened around that time in his life. But I said, it's okay. I know you did the best you could, and I'm not mad, and we can just move forward. And that was coming from a place of true honesty, true alignment, that I didn't have to harbor any I didn't have to carry the weight of anger. I didn't have to carry the weight of resentment. And I could just move forward with this relationship with him. Are we going to be as close as my stepdad and I? No, we're not. My mom remarried when I was 4. That is the man who's raised me for 24 years, and he's incredible. Like, are we going to be as close as he and I? No, but that's okay. And our relationship can just be what it is. But just having him in my life and letting go of any stickiness was beautiful and healing for both of us, because he thought that I hated him for 24 years and I didn't. And so it was really huge for him as well.
It's like, yeah, it's lovely, almost made me very emotional. It was awesome. But he's like, it's like, from his perspective, I mean, it's the thing, when you reach out, it's both of you, it's like, it's great you said about being vulnerable, and I want to get into that because you've got a book on your site, The Power of Vulnerability, and we're going to go into that. But it's like you sitting there thinking, do I reach out to this guy that left, don't know if he wants me, don't know if he talks to me, even though his wife says so, you don't know what he's going to be like after these years, and he's probably thinking the same, like, I really want to see her, but yeah. I don't want to be like, well, I mean, I suppose you've got to be the man in that situation. You just got to be like, I left, I've got to sort of like lump it. If she says yes, if she says no, at least I tried. But it is a hard one, right? And when you meet him, like actually clicking with him and getting on, that's like a huge worry as well, But I mean, did your mum? I mean, did your mum and dad split up? Did this thing get on? Was it just like just quite amicable, or was it quite nasty? Was it nasty? Was it a bit more like was a bit more to it?
It was pretty nasty. It was pretty nasty. Okay. And I don't remember a lot of their marriage because I was so young. But so I mostly grew up with my stepdad. I don't really call him my stepdad. He's my dad. Yeah. But I mostly grew up with him and my mom. So I don't remember a lot of their marriage. I remember that they fought a lot. And I remember things by what my mom has told me. But it's funny that I remember him leaving because I think that was a pivotal moment in my life that kind of marked my path. And not the only thing, but one of the pivotal moments that really marked my path and my own self-love issues and my own feelings of inadequacy and things like that I knew. And here's the thing. I don't know how woo-woo you are, Ryan, but I'm just going to say it because this is my truth, which is like, I truly, truly believe that our souls choose our parents. And I believe that we choose each other for a purpose. I believe that it is there. Of course, you have power of choice and everything like that. But I do a little bit believe in fate and destiny. And I believe that everything that has happened up until my life has been exactly the way it's supposed to be. It is, everything has happened for me and not to me. And there was a long time of my life where I really liked to be in victim mode. I really liked to play like the victim card and like, woe is me. And throughout my healing process, I had to be like, at some point, like, Stevie, get it together. At some point, you have to take responsibility and not blame your circumstances and your past for how you show up as an adult. Because I could do that for the rest of my life, and I will have a mediocre / shitty life if I keep doing that. And I just have to take responsibility for how I show up. And for the longest time, I showed up so small. I gave away my power all the time. I was riddled with anxiety. I did not think I was good enough. I felt so unworthy. I seeked out validation in men, and you can't just blame everything on your parents and how you were raised. It doesn't work that way. And if you do, then you're going to stay stuck. I'm sorry. And I tell my clients this all the time. I tell them, I'm going to be kick in the ass coach right now, because as much as I want to nurture and love you, you need a kick in the ass because you're being a fucking victim. And
well, Stevie, that's going around massive these days. It's the whole victim mentality is just coming out, right?
Yeah.
Do you not think it's quite a big? I mean, and you're in California, you're in California, which is like left wing heaven, where it's just like, I just want to be a professional victim, and it's just like, whoa. Like you said, I don't know how woo you are, Ryan. I'm pretty fucking out there. Like I thought it's weird. It's the thing with these, like, you don't get into politics, but it's like these ideologies that are going around, and it's like, you talk to one of these people, you know what they're going to say about everything. I've got my own opinions about stuff, and probably you have as well. But this is something that people need to understand, and sometimes like it's it's like people trying to stop speech and all this stuff. It's like, get a thicker skin and man the fuck up. That's those words that I know it's like, what does man up mean? But I mean, it's in like, just as you said earlier, sometimes you've got to have a kick in the arse or grow some balls, because it's like, otherwise you keep on doing the same thing, get the same result. And as you just said there, which I thought was really, really powerful, like you can keep on doing that and blaming everyone else and nothing changes. But, one of the things, changing your environment and changing the way you think about things, epigenetics, not just the microbiome, but also you as an organism, things start to change, right?
Yeah, things have to change. And I know people, and my clients will come to me and they say, I'm so stuck. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not stuck. You're stuck because you say you're stuck. You're not stuck. This is a choice that you're staying in this place. So, yeah, I mean, I think, it's funny because I think personal development and healing is this really fine balance of being so nurturing and compassionate and loving to yourself. I think, self-love takes you being loving toward the self, right? But there's also this element of like, Jesus Christ, you gotta stop playing small and you gotta stop being a victim. You have to stop giving your power away. Show up powerfully, show up in your, let yourself be seen, let yourself receive help. And I think by staying a victim, for me, what it was like, as humans, we run away from pain. Like, we don't want to feel pain. So
that's a neurological thing as well, right? As well as the feeling thing. So like the brain doesn't want to experience pain, so we don't. Well, Stevie, from a man's point of view, a very, very simple one is, I see someone like you in a bar. I think you're really good looking. I go up to you and say, "Hey, can I buy you a drink?" And you like look at me and laugh. And for the rest of my life, I'm scared to ask a girl out, because the brain goes, "No thanks." But it's hard, right? It's one of those things you need to try and get through it.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is like that we move away from pain. So if being a victim was all pain, we wouldn't do it. There's something in it that's benefiting you. That's something in it that's serving you. And so what's serving you? Well, what's serving me really is being a victim allowed me to stay comfortable. Being a victim allowed me to stay in my comfort zone. It allowed me to stay small. It allowed me to not be seen. It allowed me to not take risks. It allowed me to not be vulnerable. So that was really like helpful, like,
you know
what I mean? When you're like staying in your bullshit, it's really helpful to be comfortable.
I want you to keep that full. I put a post out the other day and it said, I put, some people don't want to be fixed because being broken gets some attention. Yeah. And I got lots of likes and I got lots of hate. I was like, bring on the hate mail. I was like, people going, take that down. It's offensive. No one wants to be broken. I was like, they do.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
They do.
And it's harsh, right? And it's harsh, but it's the truth. And the people who are, if you're listening right now and you're triggered and you're like, just know that my coach always says to me, if you spot it, you got it. Meaning if you spot something you don't like, then you got it in yourself.
100%.
We're all reflections of each other. We're all each other's mirror. And so when I have a trigger and I'm like, I don't like that about her. I don't like that about him. That's something that I really don't like. It's a little ding, 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 an alarm for me to go, oh boy, well, shit. What do I have in me that is the exact same thing,
Yeah. Do you know Paul Chek?
No, I don't.
You don't know Paul Chek? It amazes me. It
Amazes
me that you don't know Paul Chek. And you're in California. He's like the health. Like if you listen to he's like the health. He's I would say like the what's the word? The godfather of natural health. And he's got a thing called like the Chek. He's got the Chek Institute, and he had a great podcast the other day with Josh from Wellness Force, and he was talking when you said about just your souls. He does loads of plant medicine journeys, and he had one with his wife, and his wife. I want you to go and listen to that episode. You'll be like, his soul. He had a child, and he was talking about he said that his wife kept having miscarriages, and he was saying, Angie, I don't know what's going on, but there's a soul out there that wants to be our child. So he went and did some deep work with some plant medicines, did some mushrooms, went into himself, and was like, he was speaking to this soul, and he's like, why do you want to come here? It's a beautiful story, and then like. Trust me, when you say about woo-woo, it's really interesting. Now, Paul Chek, he's in California, he's in San Diego. Like, he's someone, it's awesome you don't know who he is because you've got so much to listen to and you'll be loving him. He's loving
it.
What he says is, when you're he goes, I'm glad when people are triggered. It just means I've put my finger right on your growth potential.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way of saying it.
Exactly. You know, I do plant medicine ceremonies, Ryan.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
I'm not surprised because I want to get into. I'm going because I've been looking. I'm going to head over to California, and I've got a lady I've been recommended with. But there's another guy because if I come over there, I'm going to probably try and stay for like 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm going to try and interview all you guys face to face because I've got about 20 people that I love that are on that West Coast. And do you know Troy Casey?
Nope.
He's another one. A lot of these Czech professionals, they're sort of like a group because they're all into similar stuff that we do, but they've just done a course whereas like when I studied, I went to America, I went to Thailand, I went to different places and learned all different stuff. Paul has put all this into one system, and so that when you learn his stuff, I'm not a Czech professional, but like same as you might as well be. The stuff you're into, it's like and so when you meet these people, it's just like talking to a brother or sister, it's just like, and Troy's in Venice Beach, I think, just near Venice Beach. Have I got that right? Venice Beach, that's California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's because I was there last year and met him, and there's loads of them up and down that coast. And I don't know if you've probably not heard of the podcast Mind Pump. Have you heard of them?
I think I have actually.
Yeah, those 3 guys are in San Diego. They're really good, but like it's the plant medicines have sort of really got big the last 6 months to a year, I think, maybe a bit more. When did you get into them?
The last few years, I think it's gotten really big.
Yeah, it has, yeah. Especially over you, yeah.
I've been into it. I've been doing ceremonies for about 2 years now.
Cool. And what do you? Yeah, I'm guessing you use a certain one that people like to use.
Ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we do ayahuasca, psilocybin.
Have you ever done DMT?
I haven't. My boyfriend has, and he really, really loves it. But even MDMA, which is not considered plant medicine, is such a beautiful kind of opening to that work. And really, it's like so heart opening. But for me, plant medicine has been very, very, very healing in the sense that it kind of lifts the veil, is the best way I can describe it. It lifts the veil of where you can see only truth. That's been my experience. But what's funny is that people, I find, and I did the same thing, people who want to do plant medicine, who are looking to get into plant medicine, think it's like the end all be all fix. And it's absolutely not.
No.
It's a tool. It's a tool to dive deeper into yourself. It's a tool to uncover some layers that you didn't know existed. And it's absolutely helpful, but it is not like a fixer or upper. It's sometimes. No. For me, it was really the gateway. It's like, oh my God, I did this once 2 years ago, and now I have this whole can of worms that I have to deal with now.
Well, that was one of the things that people say, like it can be like going into a dream, smashing the mirror, and then when you come out, the mirror's still smashed. This is why, like, before I do it, I'm going to be working with someone for like certain things, because you got to respect these things, right? Otherwise, if you go into it and it's just like, some people, once they wanted to escape, or two, they just try and shoot at the wall hoping some of it sticks. When you use it as part of a full-on holistic approach like you're doing and doing the work, it's a game changer. But just to go in there and do it, I think, without knowing who you are and what you're actually trying to achieve, I think it can be quite, like, yeah, you say, open up a big can of worms. And some people, if you don't know how to put those worms back in the can, then you've got big problems.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever harmful. It's always it's very, very helpful. I think what is that it's I learned so much after my first couple ceremonies that I had no idea existed about me, where it was like, now I've spent the last couple years healing the stuff that's come up from those ceremonies, and really just getting to know myself, and really diving deep into myself, into my own inner workings and my own inner dialogue and where that stuff has come from. So it's definitely people always, I've heard this a million times, and I agree as well. It's kind of like 5 years of therapy in one night, which it is. It definitely is, but it doesn't mean that the work is done. It's kind of like you do this and it opens up so much, and now you have so much to play with and work with.
Right. And so you said you were worried about showing vulnerability, and also you used to use men were like your validation.
Yeah.
And so was that something that came up with the medicines, or is that something you knew already?
Let's see here. I'm trying to think.
I want to get to the good stuff, Stevie.
I believe that came up in a ceremony where I just realized, where I realized that how much I look for validation, not just in men, but really anyone, Ryan, where I look for validation in others, like in anyone but myself. Everyone knows better than me. I have to prove my worth. I have to prove myself and show that I'm good enough. And I instead of just knowing that I'm good and that I'm worthy and that I'm beautiful and loved and, all of that, I needed other people to tell me. I needed like confirmation. I didn't just know it in my bones. I needed confirmation. And that's part of the performing thing and needing that validation and attention. So yeah, that came up in a ceremony. And I think I had a taste of that before because I was doing the work about it for a year before I found the ceremonies. So I had a taste of that, but it kind of got blown. The top got blown off in one of the ceremonies.
I think that's interesting. I think I've definitely got a bit of that in me, 100%. Having been at sport and stuff, and sometimes even with like friendship groups, like even though it's always good, but I suppose it's because it's like a thing in the brain. You want to be part of the tribe. You don't want to be extradited, and you want people to like you and stuff, and you want that. Or you just want. It's funny because, well, then again, you get into this work, and for 5 years, everyone called me a nutcase, and now they're all asking for my help. So like it's fine, but it's interesting. So when you did that, when you did that, and that opened it up, was you with your boyfriend then or not?
Our first ceremony was together.
Oh, really?
Beautiful. Yes, each of our first ceremonies was together.
But was that the first time you met?
No.
Right.
No. We'd been together for 3 years before that.
Right. So you've been to right. So okay. I was just going to say, so when that come up, when that sort of blown up, did it change your dynamic at all?
Yes, because this is very vulnerable. This is like, I really have to tell you, Ryan, you're a good host because this is the most vulnerable I've ever gotten on a podcast. We were on the verge of breaking up and I said, and I had known about this community that I do the ceremonies in for a while. And I just, I had been asking him about it for a long time and he was very against it. No. And we were on the verge of breaking up. And I said, listen, I don't even fully know what this is, but something is telling me that it is going to be profound for us. Something is telling me that it is going to be so healing. Can we, I don't know what else to do. Can we please try this? And he finally agreed. And it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. And did everything get, was the light switch turned on? No. Did everything get fixed in one night? Of course not. But it gave us a reference point of what is possible, like how deeply we love each other and how all the bullshit and the jealousy and the blah, 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 it doesn't matter. Like all that stuff doesn't matter. Like this is what matters, when I say this, I'm talking about just him and I. This is what matters. And it gave us a reference point. And now we do this work together, which is such a blessing. And now again, like it's been a couple of years. So he does his own work. I do my own ceremonies. We go back and forth. Sometimes it's together. Sometimes it's not. But I think it's important to do individual and together. But yeah, my first one was with him and it was incredible.
No, it's awesome. I think it's huge. It's probably part of relationships that people don't do. They don't do things like this together. And what you're saying, the ego is a huge thing. Sometimes people can be so deeply in love with each other. They just don't want to give up their pride. And it's and then people can end up breaking up or just playing a game. And it's like, as you said before, it doesn't matter. It's all bullshit. But it's really hard to take that vow, especially when you've been brought up in a world where that's all that matters, being right. It's something that Jordan, do you know Jordan Peterson? Oh, right. You need to give me some people as well, so we can go back and forth.
I know.
Jordan Peterson,
he's Excel sheet.
And it's just because when you're in this world, you just learn. You always learn. As you said, you need to beat your. You don't take your coat off at night. You are. This is who you are, right? And this is who I am, and the same as you. I just listen to everything. Jordan Peterson's a clinical psychologist, and he's phenomenal, and he's got sort of work. And he talks about relationships, and he says, when you're in a relationship, do you actually always want to be right? He said, because if you're always right, that means you're living with someone who's always wrong. And then you've got to live with someone whose demeanour, whose personality has always been squashed. It's like you don't want to be right all the time. You want to.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, because imagine you're walking, because you can walk around, I've won, they're walking around with their head in the sand, and you don't want to be with someone like that. And then it's like you want to lift people up, and it's because we get so close to each other. It's like in modern life, and so I think it's a huge everything you did. Like, I think it's important. It's great you've got someone that you actually went through that with, really, because it's one of my things I'm struggling with now. Is that I want to when I meet someone. You know, you can grow with people as well, but it's like, if they're just superficial and not interested, it's like I can't have a conversation, can't talk about certain things. You've got to meet someone, and I know it'll happen at the right time, but it's like you just got to, you want to meet someone who actually understands where you're coming from. Like I used to be like your boyfriend. What's his name?
Patrick.
So like Patrick, been always brought up like I was into sport and training and stuff, but always come from a family where drugs were bad, this, that, the other. And look, when it comes to most medication, I'm not for that either, unless it's really necessary. And certain drugs like like heroin and things like that. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about things like even marijuana or like MDMA, for example, or psychedelics or plant medicines. They all seem to get swept under the same rug, which it shouldn't do, because they're for different things. It's because some of these things have been around, and these tribal, for example, Red Indians and different tribes have used these for a reason. They know how powerful they are, and it's just, I think it's really important to, when you've done that work on yourself, to meet someone who's done that work on themselves, who understands it, or at least be willing to do things like that, because it is a partnership, right? And it's one of the things. It's no good if you're into all this and then your partner's not, because it's just like you're going to be on completely different roads, going different directions.
And let me tell you something, right? Like man,
am I wrong?
No, absolutely. That's absolutely right. And what's funny is that the other part of that is that some of the deepest healing work that we've done has been out of ceremony, and has been in the trenches, in real life. Like, I think a part of my goal with plant medicine work is to not need it, to not use it after and I'm not there yet. I find it so helpful. I find it very, very valuable in my life at this time in my life. But I think there's this idea that everything that we're looking for is outside of ourselves, and that's false. Everything that you're looking for is already within you. And the work, the ceremony work has given me so many tools and so many insights, but some of the deepest healing that I've done with my partner has been in the fucking trenches, has been in real life. And one of the biggest things that has been just in the last 6 months is really diving into my feminine, really, really, really diving into my feminine, because I didn't realize, I'm reading this book right now. Do you know David Deida?
I've heard of him. Yeah, I haven't read his book though.
He's fantastic. He does a lot of like masculine and feminine work. Mm-hmm. The archetypes.
Oh wait, is that no? I'm thinking of someone else. It's not Men from Mars, Women from Venus.
No. But he has a book called Dear Lover, and it's for women. And I've been reading that so slowly and soaking it all in. But it's basically about surrender. And I think a lot of women.
What was it called again, Stevie?
Dear Lover.
Dear Lover. Okay. Sorry, you said for a lot of women.
Yeah, so there's Dear Lover, which is the book for women. Men can read it too, but then there's his book for men, which is The Way of the Superior Man.
Oh, I read that. Yeah, of course. That's why I got the name. Yeah, powerful.
Okay. And I think a lot of women associate surrender with weakness.
No, it's not at all.
It's not. And surrender actually takes so much strength.
Stevie, you need to get this message out so much.
It takes so much strength to surrender. And I have been reading this book, and we were going through a little bit of a tough time in the past several months. And I started reading this book, and I was like, oh my God, I did not realize how many walls are around my heart. And one of the first lines in that book, it says, a man cannot push his way into your heart. He has to be invited. And I had not been inviting Patrick into my heart at all. And I was projecting, and I know what you're going to say. Just let me hold on 1 second.
No, I think it's awesome that you've done the work, because I think it's like, go on, you carry on.
Okay. I want to hear what you have to say. But so it was actually very exciting for me, because it gave me so much hope that it's not just, and there's so much ego in this, and I feel silly for saying it, but it's true. It was like, Patrick is the one who has to do the work, right? We think like the other person is the one who has to do the work, but no. Oh my God, I didn't realize how many walls were around my heart. And it was the reason it was hopeful and exciting for me is because, oh my God, I have a lot of work that I get to do too, that I get to do, not that I have to do. And the past several months that I've been working on tenderizing, and it sounds like I'm talking about chicken, but like seriously, like softening my heart, opening my heart, inviting and being vulnerable. Our relationship has gone through the roof, completely different. And he shows up as a completely different man, like the king that I want him to be. And I get to show up as the queen that I am, because I'm not playing like little princess. I'm being in my queendom. And Alison Armstrong talks about this, where she says men are just responding to women. And that doesn't mean that it's women's fault at all. This is a two-way street, but they're responding to women. So if you are in your masculine, if you're not if you're not needing them for anything, if you're being controlling, if you're being manipulative, they are not going to show up the way you want them to. And here's the thing. Allison's thing is like, do we need men? No, we don't. We can take care of ourselves. But what are you willing to need a man for? What are you willing to need a man for? Because if they don't feel needed, they have no purpose and they will go elsewhere, and that, so I'm rambling here, but yeah.
No. I think it's so much. I've been on this topic for a while, and I think the world is almost at a tipping point where everyone's gone batshit fucking crazy. And as a health coach, you're just like men and women are the same. It's like, no, we're really not. We live with a woman before a man, like. Look, we're more similar than we are different, but we're very different, masculine and feminine energy. And women have been told we don't need men. And it's like, right, you're not meant to be everything a man is. You're meant to be everything a man isn't, and vice versa. We're like compatible. It's like fitting into each other's slots, like the symbol of yin and yang. It's like that's what we're there for, masculine and feminine energy. With the sun comes the moon. With fire comes water. It's like these two different energies, and they work best together. And there's this sort of thing going around about the toxic patriarchy and how men have suppressed women. It's like we've worked best together. Like when there was a war, was we suppressing you then when we went off and got killed in the millions? It's a thing fit together. And I think there's a great book out there. You said David Dean is, but once again, men as well. They need to learn how to be men. There's lots of men that are just all beta males now that are just. If you see any TV program as well, Stevie, right? Every man of the house now is portrayed as a bumbling buffoon. Yeah, and it's going around. Yeah. It used to be like the man strong in the house. He'd be the one who put himself out there, go and do what he needs to do for his family, come back, and his wife would like. But that's because it's a feminine energy. Like, we've all got masculine, feminine energy within us. But as a woman, it's like if we go into it, like penis, vagina. One's out, one's in. It's the way that the body works. It's like how women are meant to be. They're meant to take in the sexual energy of the man, and vice versa. But great book out there called How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne. I don't know if you've heard of him either. It's a great one. And David Diener's Way of Superior Man's great. And Elliot Hulse is quite big into. You know Elliot Hulse at all?
No.
He's another. I don't know how you've been around the personal development world. Haven't heard of these people, Steve. We need to sharpen you up. Elliot Hulse is like one of the biggest channels of all time on YouTube, especially for men. A lot of men, and now he's gone into this thing of like because. Feminism now, only 6% of women even identify as feminists because they know it's just become like hating men for a lot of it. But I had put a post up the other day because I deal with lots of women as well, Stevie. Who this is on health. I'm gonna get back into your thing, but this is on a health perspective. I deal with a lot of women who come to me and they've got ovarian cysts or PCOS or they've got endometriosis or they've got heavy bleeds or they've got other health issues. And one of the things I say to them is like, you got to slow down. You're living like a man in a woman's body, and we've got a much more robust hormonal profile than you guys. We're like pickup trucks. You can thrash us to bits and eventually we break down, but it takes a while. Well, you guys are more like Ferraris. Once a month you could have an issue, but your body's set up for two people, not just one, and you need to take care of yourself. And these women are trying to be like the beautiful wife, the mother, the one who goes and gets that earns the money, and it's just like. Although we're in 2019, our genetics haven't changed that much, just because we've got Wi-Fi. And I always say to them, like, one of the best things about it is just like, slow down, just do less. And I actually put one of these posts, one of the women put a post up, and I did another post on it the other day, and then another woman shared this post and put it up, and then it's a weird one. It come up. I got this message through from one of the people that follow me, and she was saying, "Oh, we're talking about one of the. She's in a psychology group, and she said, one of the guys, he said this conversation come up in the weekend in their positive psychology group, and so the conversation turned to gender, and one woman said how a man in her team told her to stop trying to be like him and just like be who she is, and she said it was really amazing. It freed her up to be her authentic self, and then some of the women were like, "That's a disgrace. How can you say that?" And it's like, I think it's a hard topic to breach, but I think it's one where we just need to find like there's a truth in it, you know. Like I do understand it, and if you're a single mum and sitting there going, "Oh, we don't need men," I get it, but not all men are bastards. And trust me, that most of the men I know love women, like love you guys to pieces, and they'll do anything for you. But as you said, it's very easy to become like sheep butting heads and not let someone in. And if you don't need a man, you know, we it's like they say, men fall in love with their eyes, women fall in love with their ears, you know. And when we do certain things, you know, men are very logical. You tell us, it's like when you say, we say, "What's up?" and you say nothing. We've learned over years that nothing isn't true, but you know, men are very logical. They're just like, okay, and so we are different. But I think it's huge for you to get that message out, to take the walls down, and to sort of let us in, because we will do it. It's just
invite you in.
Invite you in, not let us in. Yeah, invite us in. Yeah, because I think it's a huge thing, you know. Because we do want to be wanted or needed. I know that's me being vulnerable. You know, when you got your woman there, you want her to need you for something. You want to feel useful, and obviously because you always be there, protector or provider, as these sort of roles have changed. But I think it's quite nice for like. I mean, how has it changed since you've done that? Like for you, how's that experience been different for you?
In my relationship, well, I have found that, you know, talking about, you know, being in my queendom, when I'm really in my feminine and I'm really soft, what's funny is that when I'm the softest, I feel the most powerful. You know, and that's not to say that, like, you know, when it's work time and I need, you know, if I have a deadline or I have something, that I can go into go mode. I can be driven. I can be direct. I can do all of that. But then I can go back, because we both have masculine and feminine, as you said. It's not that I only have to be soft and tender like a butterfly. No, I have both parts of me. But when I'm in my tenderness and when I'm in my flow and when I'm in like allowing, when that's a huge one about the feminine, is allowing and surrendering. That's when I feel most powerful. And when I allow Patrick and when I don't control him, and when I don't, when I feel safe and on my own, and I don't look for him to meet my needs. Like, here's the thing: the difference is, we do have to still meet our own needs, because then if we don't meet our own needs, then it becomes like this codependent mess. Mm-hmm. And as much as I do look for Patrick for like my you know, my actual safety and protection and things like that, I still need to meet my need for safety in myself, of like, you know, knowing that I'm worthy, knowing that I can take care of myself, knowing that I'm strong and I am independent. But then what am I willing to allow him to come in for, you know? And so when I'm in that place, that frees him up to show up. It's like so strong, so powerful in his masculinity, in his manhood. And, you know, when I'm in my masculine, and, you know, in that energy, and I'm controlling and manipulating, and I'm like needing him, like that kind of energy, he plays small, you know, he plays small. Whereas when I'm soft and tender and feminine, he is really big. And like you said, like, going back, and this is a different topic, but like you said before, like, you don't want someone whose head's in the sand. You know, I want someone who knows, like, who wants to lead me when I want to be led. Like, I want that power, that energy. But it's a dance. And I've just seen so much. I mean, not just in my relationship, Ryan, like in my own personal life, mm-hmm. I had a coach who talks about the worthiness container, how he visualized it as like a little box, like in the center of your chest. And if your worthiness container is this small little thing, then how do you expect anything that you want to come in? Like nothing, it can't fit. Nothing, it's too small for anything to fit. All the clients and the business and the dreams and the money that you want to come in, there's nowhere for it to go. So part of like me being in my feminine is receiving and is allowing, and so widening my container for worthiness so that all the things that I do want can come in, and that I'm open to receiving. I think women are so scared to receive, and we don't let ourselves receive a lot. But that has been something that being in my feminine has really, really opened up for me. Money has been completely different, coming at not coming from like all different sources and coming in and I'm not feeling lack, and I'm not in scarcity at all, because I'm open to receiving. And when you're in your feminine and you're in that flow, that becomes possible.
No, I think that's awesome. And I think people to just know that it's fine, and just to do it. I mean, it's great that you've even. I mean, it's really powerful for. I think you should send this to your clients to let them hear that as well, because it's really powerful for their coach to say that, because it's changed your life in all ways. I know it's very. It's like when for a man, like when you said as a man as well, actually being a man and taking responsibility for things and actually going out there and using your masculine energy in the right ways and coming across. And let's be honest, in the coaching industry. Probably, I don't know, actually I'd say it is probably more female dominated, because say men like things and women like people, and so most of us in it are probably more in touch with our feminine side, if we go into it, than a lot of other men, because one of the best things you say, being vulnerable, Steve, being vulnerable is hard, but funny enough, being vulnerable is how people connect to you the most. And I've got a video, one of my videos I have out, it's just me telling my story at my best friend's graveyard, because he was pushing me into he died when I was 17. It pushed me into a health crisis, and it's got millions of views, 4 million views, something like that. And it's just me telling my story. And when you're going into it, because you don't look stupid or foolish, or don't want everyone to laugh at you, you don't say things that might make you emotional, vulnerable. But it's I can't remember who it is. One of the copywriters out there says make your skeletons dance. Only things that can hurt you are the things that are in your closet, but if you go out there and vulnerable, because at the end of the day, everyone, I say this quite often, not everyone knows what success feels like, right? But everyone knows what struggle is like. And so it's really, 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 really interesting. When did you start to was it plant ceremonies as well? Was it before, when you started to show your vulnerability?
Oh, what, 6 months ago?
Oh, really? Really?
I mean, not fully, but I think it really, really clicked for me because I had one of the ceremonies recently where that stuff came up about performing, and how I don't let myself be seen in the most vulnerable of ways. And when I realized that, and when that message kind of came to me, it was what am I so scared of? What am I so scared of people seeing? That I don't have it all together? So what? That's boring anyways. Perfection is so boring. Oh, yeah. And so that's honestly, that's a very new development for me, but it's been so it's opened up so much for me, because I truly believe, Ryan, that our vulnerability is our superpower. And I think by protecting yourself, by protecting yourself from the chance of getting hurt and blocking yourself from the chance of getting hurt, you're also blocking out joy and bliss and connection and freedom and abundance. You can't have both, So by not being vulnerable, and by avoiding yourself and not letting your heart open and be seen and ask for help and say what's really going on, you're also pushing away the good stuff too. You couldn't possibly feel love's deepest bliss if you're also if there's an ironclad cage around your heart.
It's everything that's been the best things in my life has come on the other side of being vulnerable, or going through a challenge that I was really nervous about. It could be like playing sport. It could be like even like to the point of like going up and talking to a girl. You're like, you always regret the shots you don't take, right? Or it can be like going to a certain class, or about even reaching out to a coach, or feeling silly, or whatever it is, all those things. And I think it's huge that you said that. I mean, being a performer on stage, like I saw your post the other day, you said, I can't tell you whose wedding I'm singing at, but it rhymes with Chris Platt. I thought that was quite funny. That's a hell of a gig, right?
Yeah, that was so fun. So I'm in as my side gig that I do, I'm in a band, and we do like
you're in a band?
Yeah. It's we do celebrity weddings, and
that's a cool job.
Yeah, it's super fun. I've been in the band since I was 19, so it's been such a great. And this, I mean, we don't have to get into this, but this is like, I'll tell you a little taste of a whole nother thing, which is, kind of not pursuing artistry, right? Like that's what the reason I came to LA is to pursue artistry. Mm-hmm. And I worked in a really world-renowned recording studio when I first got here doing client service. And literally it was like Beyonce would walk in, then Alicia Keys would walk in, and then John Mayer would walk in, and then Joan Jett would walk in. It was just crazy. And I kind of got this insider look on how these people live their lives. And it was this moment where I was like, holy shit, I don't want this,
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was such a gift.
What was it that you didn't? Was it just too much, too up and down?
Too much, too like living out of a suitcase. Like their time is not their own. They have like people around them at all times who like it just felt like. And maybe this is my own projection.
Leeches.
Yeah, exactly. But and maybe I'm sure it's not always like that, but that was the vibe that I got, and it really turned me off. And I think music and performance is such a huge passion of mine. But I think really my purpose in this life is more than coaching. Is healing. It's just being a healer. So I know that it was the right decision for me. But
your music can heal at the same time, right?
That is true. That is totally true. And I at some point I would love to kind of incorporate music into my healing in some way. I haven't fully gotten there yet, but I think that is on my horizon. But I know it was the right decision for me. But all that to say, like, I still have that outlet to perform, on the weekends and be in that energy and share my gift and make people happy with music. So that's been a real blessing that I get to this double life that I live, that I get to heal and coach during the week and then heal with music in another way during the week.
It's awesome. Yeah, that is an awesome job, awesome side job.
Thank you. Yeah, we did like Jimmy Fallon's wedding and LeBron James's wedding. It's been some fun gigs.
Oh God, bro, you must be really good. I tell you. If you got any you must just send over some stuff on YouTube you can listen to. Must have stuff on YouTube.
We have the band's website is westcoastmusic.com, and I'm in the band James Gang, so you can find us on there.
West Coast Music.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So who was your first gig? Like how did you get into celebrity weddings? I mean that's a great market to be in, but like how did you it's such a chill job for me, because our agency, the man who owns it, he has been around in the business for like 20 years, and so he does all the bookings, he does all the work, and I think it's just like an LA thing, like you just know people, and that's how he's built up his business. There's different it's a different group. I'm sorry, you built up the business that way. So what one are you?
I'm in James Gang, and so there might not be a video up there right now because we just shot one.
Right, I've got the thing on here. Right, got you. Yeah, looking cool.
So it's we just shot a video 3 weeks ago, so it's still being edited. So to be continued on that. But yeah, it's been a really, really fantastic. And it's cool because I was in college when I got in the band, and I would go to go to my communications class, Friday during the day, and then have a gig Saturday night, and then come back to school, do it, Monday morning, where I'm like living this double life. It was pretty fun.
Right. So it's not, I get to see what it is. So it's not like your band and you get booked. It's like you were part of this agency, and he got different bands for different sort of like things, different, I suppose, genres, and then he sends you guys out to different weddings.
Yes.
Right. Got you. Yeah. It's cool, man. That's awesome. Like,
thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great job, right? You know that you're going to go and it's once again, as you said, it's like doing it. I mean, obviously it's a stress you've got to perform, but you're doing it in a setting where, you know, I mean, to be fair, all eyes are on you, but they're mainly on the bride, right? So it also takes a bit of pressure off, and it's just probably weddings are fun. It's not like
so much fun.
yeah.
So much fun. You get to be part of someone's big day. And you know what's funny is like I've been able to, in a way, incorporate some of my healing work into that because, you know, my biggest wound is like that I need to perform for love, and here I am performing professionally, right? So it's this work that I get to do where I get to kind of compartmentalize where I'm performing and sharing a gift and sharing, you know, this gift that I was given and my craft, but not needing not needing the validation from it, and just being able to give and not needing anything in return has been such a beautiful kind of reframe that I've done in the last year or so.
So that's your inner child work.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, inner child work is the shit.
I've done I've done some. I think I need to do some more. I mean, this is like, so this wasn't plant medicine stuff. This was just actually going into certain things with like certain protocols.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Was that with the Hungry for Happiness stuff?
Exactly.
Right. And how long was it before you sort of like, I mean, did you notice instant results, or like how long was it before stuff come up? I mean, what's the sort, I mean, you don't mind, but what's the sort of process you go through? I mean, like, is it more like sitting down with someone and talking to them through things, or is it you just remembering? I mean, like, is it more of like a one-on-one coaching sort of situation?
Yeah, I do one-on-one coaching. And you know what's really special about one-on-one coaching, Ryan, is that you kind of meet people where they're at. Mm-hmm. And so I have clients who haven't done a lick of personal development work in their life, and inner child is like, what is that? You know, like I have no idea. And it's so profound to them, kind of like mind-blowing when they get to it. And then I have clients who they've done, you know, several years of personal development, and they just need a little bit of that guidance and that hand-holding and the facilitation. Mm-hmm. But I really meet you where you're at. Mm. So, again, a lot of the people come to me for anxiety. A lot of the people come to me with like body image stuff and kind of self-loathing stuff and feeling like they're stuck and that they just always play small. And I just meet them where they're at. And I have all these tools in my toolbox, inner child just being one of them, just being one really powerful tool. But I have these tools in my toolbox, and I kind of meet you where you're at based on what I think you need at that moment.
And so how long, but like before you started to, I mean, when you do the work as well, Stevie, I mean, it's quite hard, but when you do the work, is it then hard to implement it in everyday life and not get triggered by certain things? Is that part of the challenge?
Absolutely. I mean, it's part of the work. You know, that's why they call it
the work.
Because I had just had a session about this with a client yesterday where she said, I still am getting triggered by ... by this thing. I can't, but like, you know, why am I still getting triggered by this thing? And I'm like, because baby, it's not done yet. You still have to go through the process. And the one thing that I always tell people is like, you can't rush your healing. You're in the perfect part of your journey. And the worst thing that you can do is, you know, we already have our shit. Don't shame your shit. Don't judge yourself for where you're at. Just be really kind and compassionate. And when you have that trigger, it's the perfect time to learn more. So whenever you're triggered, it's like, oh, ding, 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 something's not yet healed. What's not yet healed? Let's get curious. Let's be a little bit of like, have a little investigation, and then meet that, you know, when you figure out what the thing is, like, oh God, this is the thing I haven't yet healed. Okay. Meet it with compassion, meet it with love, meet it with so much grace and kindness. But what doesn't help is like you needing to know the timeline, because you don't know the timeline. Nobody knows the timeline except your body. Your body knows the timeline, and you cannot rush it. So, you know, I think one of the things that happens is that people get impatient. You know, like, why am I still struggling with this? I'm like, because it's not over yet. Your body hasn't fully processed it, but it's coming. I promise it's coming. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
I just think it's like, it's one of those things, you know, they say like bathing, you need to do it daily, you know, it's one of those, you've got to keep working on stuff because you've been dealing with something or something's been triggering you for so long. It's not just going to go away overnight, is it? You know, it's something that you need to identify and then move forward with. And it's just, it's the same as with health and with like food and nutrition. You always say like, though we've got a standard program, there's no standard process because there's no standard human being. The body's not a machine; it is human, and there's so much going on. And if something's been triggering you for 20, 30 years, it's not going to stop. Not going to stop getting triggered over it. Not going to stop getting triggered by it overnight, which I think is really, really. People need to understand that, but it's and this is another thing in today's society, right, Stevie? Everyone wanting it now, quick fix, so much information. I think they can have it all now, and it's like one of the things that when I was growing up that made things worthwhile was having to wait for something. It was like if you just get everything you want. I mean, some of the most broken people that I know are children that my friends who had everything they wanted whenever they wanted it, and they never had to work for it or wait for it. And I think like that's the journey is so much part of the journey is the destination in my opinion. Like everyone wants to be there, but I think one of the guys from Mind Pump was talking about the other day.
And there's no there.
No, there is no there. No, there is no there. I think they were talking about this body image the other day, and they said, would you, if you could click your fingers and let your client be like 6% body fat and how he wanted to look, just like that, without going through all the work, etc., would you do it? And it was on a podcast, and the guy was like, no, because they haven't actually understood what it took to get there, and it's just given without. What's that sentence? The price of everything, but the value of nothing. And it's like, I think it's so important for people to understand that, and to go through it, because like the struggle is, I mean, as a coach, or having your own business and stuff, you go through stuff, and the struggle is how it sharpen your sword, and it also gets rid of the wheat from the chaff, right? Because people are easy to think they can go into coaching, and if they don't, it's not their passion. They just something to make a quick bit of money. One, it won't work, and two, they'll be gone in like a year or two. When it's your calling, you keep on going, you keep on doing, because this is who you are. This is what you do, and it's not your job. It's just who you are. And I think that's a huge point as well. And it's something that, as a coach yourself, coaches need coaches, and that's why you've got a coach, and you probably have coaching. Do you have a singing coach?
No, I don't. Which is. Yeah, I haven't done singing lessons. It's funny because singing live every weekend, it kind of is my coach, but I haven't done lessons in a couple of years. I should get back into it.
No, it's just like I always say. I mean, if you've got something now, then if you might just want a few different. I know, like there's a lot of like voice coaches in Hollywood. One of my coaches actually is doing with a speaking coach. It might be something to get into as well, because we're doing more and more podcasts and more and more. I mean, so much content, so many videos, and being in London, I do speak quick and I can drop certain letters out, and compared to, and it's also that rhythm of talking. It's getting people engaged. It's one of those things. But and singing is the same, right? What's his name? Is it Roger Love? That famous? Is it Roger Love or Dan Love or something like that?
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he talks about like singing is basically just speaking, but in different, and it's just like getting the different tones right. I know it's just interesting when you're saying things like that, especially with. I mean, would you? So your vulnerability that you're going through as well. Would that be like a video today when you're out in the street doing that dancing? Would you not have done that 6 months ago?
No, I wouldn't. I do my dancing. It's funny. Yeah, I
said love the dancing, didn't love the sandals and socks, but we go for.
How dare? I mean, no, that would not be one of the things. Sometimes I'll dance, like I'll have be really in my feminine, speaking of the feminine stuff. I'll be really in my feminine, really in my flow, and I hesitate to post it because I'm like, oh, what if people judge me, or what if they think I'm da da da. But I'm like, fuck it. If someone judges me, it's not about me. I'm being a mirror for them, And Samantha Skelly, the woman who runs Hunger for Happiness, who's my coach, she said something so beautiful, which was, you are doing a disservice to everyone by not being in your power. Because if you're worried about triggering someone and you're worried about offending someone, you're taking away the opportunity for them to dig into that. You're taking away the opportunity for them to learn more about that.
And also, you're stopping people that want to see that, seeing it as well.
Yeah. Will they dig in? For sure? Maybe not. That's not your job, and that's not your problem. But by you playing small, you're not doing anyone a favor.
No, it's huge. I think is that Tony Robbins, or who says about sort of playing small? I think it's It's a huge one. When I stopped doing that and stopped caring, it was just so liberating. It's just like I don't really care. Like I was gonna put my opinions out, and if say people, you know, they say as well, like if you're not polarizing, you're not doing something right. I don't know if you've seen the. I love it actually because I'm a bit between the two of like I'm a humanist. I want everyone to get on, everyone to be as healthy as possible, but if people, and unfortunately, there's just people out there that just love throwing hate. You know, just love it. It's just what they do. And you can either be triggered by it, or you can just sit there and smile. And I've had people. Did you see Kanye West on Letterman the other day?
I did.
I love it. That Andy Hoffman line is just like, "Send me the hate mail. Send me it," with a big smile on his face. And I love that. I embrace that so much now. I used to like 6 years ago. I used to say something because you find out something, you want to change the world, everyone's wrong, and this like the other. And you go out there and people used to argue, and I'd be like, now I'm just like, okay, mate, good. I'm glad it's triggered you. Maybe go look into it. Like I don't really care. It's like cool. Or it's like you don't even have to, it's just like when people, like for example, you're there doing this work with women and you're helping them heal, and then someone who's never done anything before questions you. You're like, cool, mate. Like, how many women have you helped? Or like it's just like. It's just like people. Some people just like they're going through a bad day. They just want to have a row with someone, and it's like, why are you giving them any energy? It's just pointless. But
yeah,
I think
I had a little bit of a I don't even want to say hate mail, but I guess a hater mail from a post I did the other day, which was me talking about like my non-existent thigh gap, like kind of like rest in peace thigh gap, and I got so much great feedback on that post, but then this guy, oh my gosh, like I don't even know what would come over someone. Like I can't fathom why he would write this, but he sent me a DM and he said, I know, I get what you're going for, but you would look even better with just a little bit slimmer, and then put like a winky face. And I was like, holy shit. Like this would have devastated me, you know, just a few years ago. This would have devastated me. And so it was cool just in the sense that like it didn't trigger me. I was more just baffled. I was more like confused. Like why would you go out of your way to write this?
You are incredibly slim as well. It's like it's ridiculous. I mean, I think like I've seen that. I'm looking at the post now. Yeah, you look fantastic by the way. But it's just like I just think that's all about him.
Totally. And I think like the best. I sent him a message back and I said, hey, Kyle. It's a Kyle. I said, hey, Kyle. I'm so sorry that you feel insecure enough to, try to put me down. I just sent you a prayer and I will never think about you again.
Oh.
And then, and then I blocked him. But it's just crazy. I guess it's not that crazy because if you think about it, everyone has their shit, right? And people's shit comes out in ugly ways sometimes.
Oh no, yeah.
But I brought something up in him, and he took the chance to retaliate, I guess. And will my message give him some time to think? I don't know. Do I care? No.
No. Well, no, there's two things to that as well. One's like I think Ricky Gervais said, it's like much better to create something and be criticised than create nothing and criticise others. Right? It's much easier to do that. And two, it's like everyone's been told your opinion's valuable. It's like I don't really. It's like I love Stephen Crowder sometimes. It's like I get what you're saying. I just don't care. It's like brilliant. Like why should? It's like. You're putting all this good love and vibes and positivity out in the world, and someone just wants to like straight down. And you might not agree with me, that's fine. But when you start throwing hate, I had a woman the other day did that on my post. She was like, thinking about it, I think that's a disgraceful thing to say. I'm offended. Take it down. I was just like, block, no interest. I'm not taking anything down. Like, and if you're getting offended, that's up to you. Like, there's offensive speech. That's not offensive speech. Like, I love that. Stephen Crowder did one the other day. There's no such thing as hate speech. It's brilliant. Because like, I think Jordan Peterson's lines like, in order to risk being offensive, you've got to think. It's like someone's always going to be offended. Someone's always going to be offended, and it doesn't matter. And what you're putting out there, it's just people. You can either sit there and argue with them, or you can just. And then you're giving them their 5 minutes of fame, or whatever you call it, or you can just block, delete, and go on about your day. Because why give that any energy? It's just no point.
Yeah, I think also what it's bringing up in us, like the fear of putting out something, or the fear of being criticized, or not even offending. I mean, that too, but just the fear of being judged is, well, then if I'm judged, then I have to bump up against like me second guessing myself. Then I have to think, oh, like, was this bad? Oh my gosh, was this wrong? Am I bad? Am I not good? Then you have to bump up that kind of thing instead of just standing in your knowing, standing in your power. So I think that's the fear behind it. That's what the real fear of judgment is losing love. Is losing love. So if you can integrate the fact that you never lose love because you are love and you have an unlimited supply of love available to you at any moment, then your Aunt Susan's comment about whatever doesn't mean as much.
No, it doesn't. It's amazing how much, I think you said a bit about earlier on, you were saying how much value you gave other people's opinions and not your own. And I think it's like even when you're like arguing, say it's a friend or arguing or something comes up, and it's like, you've gone so much deeper on a certain topic than they have. Yeah. And yet your ego wants to convince them. And it's like, they're just not ready for the story. I used to just be like, it's not ready for the story. You're just not ready for it yet. Like, and it's, everyone gets there on their own time if they get there, and it's just like, sometimes there's no point. I mean, there's a great meme actually out there. It's like, woman shouts out, "Darling, come to bed." And he's like, "I'll be there in a minute, honey. Someone's wrong on the internet." And it's like, you don't even know them. They're nothing to you. You never come across them. Like, it doesn't matter. That's why I love like following people like yourself and other coaches, because we're all sending the same message. It's always good to see other people doing it, because it gives you like that, or sometimes like you might put something out, it might inspire me to do something, and maybe vice versa, or another coach, and it's really good. It's like, it's just putting positivity out in the world. At the end of the day, you're putting a lot more positivity out there to people than that one negative comment. I think it's huge, because I always think about this every day. The amount of positive comments I get compared to the amount of negative comments, it's got to be like 200 to 1, probably.
Yeah.
And so, like, why does that one comment fuck us off so much?
I know. I totally get it. We have to release that fear of that fear of that we're going to lose something, that there's something to lose, because there's really nothing to lose. And you're really just gaining so much by putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, like we talked about.
It's, I've got this, a body hungry for happiness, Samantha Skelly. Yeah. I'm going to have a look at, so just quickly, Stevie, you work only with women, yeah? I suppose it might be similar if you work with men as well, but what are the biggest issues that you see when they come to you with? Like, what they come to you with?
Self-love, anxiety, body image, like really like body loathing. A lot of the women I work with come to me with binge eating or emotional eating issues, and a lot of unworthiness. I think also because I think as coaches we teach what we need. So because I myself have an unworthiness wound, I attract a lot of women who also have an unworthiness wound, and so a lot of unworthiness, a lot of like not feeling good enough, a lot of like playing small, a lot of victim mentality. I think the woman I coach and the woman I help is me 2 years ago, me 3 years ago, me 5 minutes ago, right? And so those are some of the main things that I find are really present in the women I work with. And I have worked with a couple of men. I think men are less attracted to my work and less attracted to working with me because they don't, like you said in the beginning, they don't ask for help. But I have worked with a couple of men.
So you do work with men, not women only?
Just not very often, I think, because I don't get a lot of interest. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know why I thought that you maybe you only work with women, but no, I thought that was just, I don't know if maybe I saw it somewhere, or maybe it's just because
maybe because I just promote that.
Maybe. Yeah. I think maybe also your website's quite soft. It's quite feminine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For one, without giving assuming your website's gender. Without digging myself into deep water. So what's the next step, Stevie?
What's the next step? I am really, Ryan, just basking in this one-on-one work right now. It has been
Enjoying it, yeah.
so fulfilling to me. It has been so healing for myself. Like I just said it a second ago, every time I teach and every time I coach, I am giving myself my own medicine. And I do have 3 spots open in my one-on-one coaching program. If any of your listeners are interested, they can go to my website and book a free consultation call.
StevieWright.co, yeah?
Yes, StevieWright.co. And I do weekly group coaching calls. Those are only $20. So if you want to just get a little taste of what I do, it's a 90-minute group coaching call. It's free for everyone. I mean, it's a free for all. Anyone can show up. It's $20. And we talk about self-love, body image, healing old wounds, breaking out of negative patterns. They're super, super juicy. I am coming out with a healing anxiety masterclass, which is going to be sold on my website forever. It's going to be evergreen. So to keep an eye out for that. And I will be hosting my first retreat early 2020.
So that's awesome. So just quickly, Stevie, if you had to say a book, or who have you been your influences in? Because I've given you a few people. Who have you been your influences? Just if I wanted to look into it.
Christine Hassler. Do you follow her work?
No, I don't. Christine Hassler.
Oh my, Ryan, I don't know how.
Here we go. Hassler. Hassler.
Christine, yeah, Hassler. Yeah, she's absolutely incredible. Such a magic light worker woman. Right. Samantha Skelly, my own coach, she's incredible. Shannon Graham, he's the guy who I talked about briefly a little bit, but with the worthiness container, he's incredible. Who else am I so inspired by?
What was his name?
Shannon Graham.
Oh, Shannon. Okay. Mm-hmm. Shannon Graham. It's all Americans, aren't they? Shannon Graham. And, yeah.
Mel Wells, and then, you know, it's so funny. I think about their Instagram handle, but I think it's actually Emily Wells. Let me see. Melissa. No, that's right. Melissa Wells. I love her work. Who else? You know, if we can go back as late as like Ram Dass. Like I love his book, Be Here Now. He's huge. Who else do I love? David Data. I mean, we talked about him. He's incredible.
I think every man should read that book, Made a Superior Man. It's just a brilliant book.
Yes. Who else do I love? Alison Armstrong. I love her.
Alison Armstrong.
Yeah, she has the Queen's Code. Yeah, those are some of my top people. Okay,
awesome. That's awesome. So if I said to you one book to I've never done this before. You're the first person on this too. So because it's interesting because you come from different. So what would be the one book if you had to say to someone?
Oh my God, I don't know how you do this to me.
So Alison Armstrong was Queen's what? Queen's Code.
Queen's Code. Yeah.
Queen's Code.
Wow. I would say. Can I give you a top 3?
Yeah, go for it. Let's go for 3. Okay.
I would say Be Here Now. Ram Dass. That was pretty life-changing for me. Mm-hmm. I would say The Untethered Soul. And I would say Dear Lover, David Data. That book has really, really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff.
Dear Lover. Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. On that note, I think that's awesome. Stevie, thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute, it's been a great interview. I think we've gone some good things, good content for people there. And if anyone wants to find you out, StevieWright.co. And what's your Insta again? It's
Yeah, my Insta is Stevie L Wright _ and that's WRIGHT.
Perfect. Just hang on there, Stevie. But thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
So, guys and girls, that was Stevie Wright, StevieWright.co, self-love coach, and that was an awesome conversation. You know, I felt myself getting very emotional at times there when we were talking about her journey with her father and going deep into her relationship issues. You know, it's awesome conversation to have and to get deep into. You know, because being vulnerable is something that people are really worried about. You know, people seeing their soft side, but it's what makes you human, and it's how people can connect with you. And so, really try to, if you can, let yourself feel those feelings and try to not hide those emotions from people, because you know people actually really respond to them, and it's phenomenal. And I I 100% know you're going to get a lot from this conversation, just how deep you want. And that's one of the things I'm going to be working on a lot on as well. I was trying to get to those really magic moments. And I think we had at least a few there with Stevie. It was phenomenal. And I can't wait to get her back on the show in the future. She's doing some great stuff. So yeah, it's always one of my favourite conversations I've had recently. Love the information ones, but recently with Nick and Rebecca, and now with Stevie, we had some phenomenal conversations, and just it just shows how much these people care and how much work you've got to do on yourself before you can start working on others. And it's something that always try and get people on, that are doing the work on themselves. Because otherwise you're just a talking head, as we talked about in the show. You're just a talking head. You can only take people as far as you've been yourself, which is really, really important. Anyway, guys and girls, any questions you've got around that or anything you want to ask Stevie, send the questions to me or head over to Stevie's website, steviewright.co. Otherwise, guys and girls, that's it for this week. If you have got a health issue that you're trying to resolve and you haven't had any luck, then you can always email me at ryan@reviveyourself.co and we can book a call to see if and how we can help you. Or you can head on over to www.reviveyourself.co, click on the contact tab and fill out the form there, and we'll be in touch as soon as possible. Otherwise, guys and girls, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you're struggling with gut issues, such as gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, and want to finally be able to eat the foods you love without the crippling after effects, then don't forget to head over to reviveyourself.co and pick up your free copy of The Healing Health Paradigm today.